And so the Earthbound games are difficult to find, go for hundreds, and highly collectible. But you can play it on the Super Nintendo Classic or the new 3DS. I haven't played it myself, but it's been highly recommended and a great RPG. All right, some games. I remember playing this old school tank game called Battlezone. I know, it's a fun tank game that's just made up of lines. You know, people like to talk about great first-person shooters like GoldenEye. Well, there's Perfect Dark, also a recommendation. And there's games so bad you have to play it to believe it. Shaq Fu. Yes, there's the Shaquille O'Neal fighting game for the Super Nintendo. There was an entire cult of people trying to destroy every remaining copy of Shaq Fu. That's not going to happen. Oh, they'll still... Oh, all you're going to do is increase the value. And all my copies of Shaq Fu that I've been hoarding will be more valuable. Alright, now this is an interesting game right here. By the way, Shaq Fu does have a sequel. Yeah, which just came out. Thanks, Kickstarter. By the way, there is this one game I found out at Mag West. It's called Technica. It's like a rhythm game where you just go up to the screen and touch the sounds. Yeah, and you can do it in groups. So you press your fingers like this, then this. Man, it developed teams in a hardcore community at arcades. Hey there, come in. We're talking about retro games. And there's even a documentary out called Touching Sound. Yeah, I kind of bugged them at Mag West, and give their documentary a check. It's called Touching Sound, story on Technica. I know, a Guitar Hero, you press the buttons. Here, you press the screen. It is Touching Sound. All right, we got plenty of news, publications, and personalities who are taking it upon themselves to talk about gaming, even talk about what was in the past. Game Informer, which might come to an end because GameStop laid off their staff. I know, just one thing they cut. All right, plenty of magazines. We got magazines dedicated to retro gaming and websites who bring it up, like GameSpot or Kotaku. And the streamers are streaming their games. These guys here are called Desert Bus for Hope. You know what Desert Bus was, right? Yeah. So back in the 90s, Penn and Teller had a game made called Smoke and Mirrors, and it was a game that made fun of video games. One of them was Desert Bus. It was meant to be a take on what politicians were saying on what video games should be, more realistic and simulate real life and less violent. In Desert Bus, you drive a bus straight from Tucson to Las Vegas for 8 hours because you can only go 45 miles an hour. I know, you just got to keep holding A and your bus veers to the left, so you got to keep pressing right. So you got to keep doing this. I know. So that's their take. So yeah, video games and politics and censorship, it's nothing new. But they're still saying the same things Clinton did, back in 2006. All right, we got, and with YouTube and streaming, people take it upon themselves to be video game personalities. Guys like Angry Joe and Inside Gaming talk about current games. And there's guys like the Angry Video Game Nerd and Pat the NES Punk who become sources of humor and give insightful analysis on all sorts of games. And we got guys like Yahtzee here with Escapist Magazine, who does a show called Zero Punctuation. Yeah, he does current game reviews, but he also does looks at the past, like say how the old Monkey Island games compare to the current Monkey Island games. All right, now there used to be G4 TV as the video game channel, but yeah, that went through some changes over the years, and it used to be video game focused, but network executives were making changes, and also couldn't keep up with all the gaming news and stories, and eventually it just went under. Apparently buying the syndication rights for Heroes didn't help. All right, we got plenty of re-releases and remasters. Night Trap. This game that was brought before the politicians on why video games need to be censored. This is a game where you just look at cameras and try to find these, burglars in some sort of sleepover. I know, you're playing as a security guy. How is that violent? How is that encouraging Anyway, so yeah, that's Night Trap manages to be a cult classic that's still around. We also got re-releases on old games on current systems. There's also the Nintendo Online service for your Switch. So we can still play old games, and now now all the old games are more valuable if they're marketed and sold. All right, they're on our iPhone. Like you can probably get all the Sega classics for free on your iPhone. And look, Desert Bus. You can get that on iPhone. I know. So so you hold your iPhone and you just go. All right, now they're playing classic Star Wars games. And they're all being re-released by limited run games. All right, so let's see. Super Star Wars NES, Shadows of the Empire, Pod Racing. Those are all being re-released. All right, even Disney's seeing the value here. They're like Lion King for Super Nintendo and Aladdin for Super Nintendo. They just got grouped together in one package, so you can feel the frustration of the Lion King for Super Nintendo and Game Gear. Yeah, try getting past that. There's that one level where you swing on vines, no one makes it. Alright, so there's an entire catalog. Yeah, let's see, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and hey, Final Fantasy VII. That's been getting remade for years. There was Final Fantasy VI for Super Nintendo, your basic side-scroller sprites, and there's Final Fantasy VIII, which upped it with being more cinematic and giving a graphical upgrade. So we feel Final Fantasy VII deserves the same, and it will happen this year. So there are re-releases, remasters, and remakes. So these Disney games are like re-releases. There's even a Saturday afternoon package out there. Final Fantasy VIII, which had been remastered, so still the same game with a bit of a graphical polish. All right, then there's Link's Awakening, which just came out, has upgraded graphics, new gameplay. Definitely different than when it was on Game Boy. Now we got minis, imitators, clones, and HDMI support. All right, so if you go to Walmart, or you can buy these, small controllers that plug into your TV, and there's your game. All right. Yeah, so like Asteroids and Pac-Man and Galaga. All right, and of course Nintendo's been putting out the NES Classic and Super Nintendo Classic. I know those are consoles you gotta hold on to if you get them. They've also been hot in demand, so you get to play the old-fashioned way. Some games like Neo Geo, here that has a screen attached to it. Even the Commodore 64, that's one thing we've been reminiscing on. That has its own mini out, which is real neato. And want to finish that line? Come on, Commodore 64, real neato. Come on, Weird Al. Yeah, what do you use?
Chip you got there.
Yeah, chip you got in there. A Dorito? Good. All right, now we got stand-up machines you can get at Costco. So you gotta pay like $200 for these arcade cabinets for your den, so you can play, Pac-Man the old-fashioned way. Hey, these things keep coming. We got TurboGrafx 16 coming out. Yeah, there's like a mini for the TurboGrafx. Not as popular, but still has a good set of games. Now there's gonna be a new Game Boy coming out. It's like a $200 Game Boy, which is gonna be the best Game Boy ever. Yeah, it plays all the games and connects to these things like the printer and the camera. All right. Now there are HDMI support for classic consoles like this. This is for connecting your your Nintendo 64 to your TV through HDMI. GameCube has the same, so you can search around for those. Yeah, I think they're available on GameStop. And then there's things like this. This is called they're console clones. They're not made by Nintendo or Sega, but they do play cartridges the same, and they're made by other companies or people. Now, are they legal? This is where we ask, is it legal? Console clones for the NES and Sega and Segas.